In this video, we're going to be looking at the three different types of frequency distributions: your basic frequency distribution, the relative frequency distribution, and then the cumulative frequency distribution. So first, looking at the frequency distribution, we're going to use the data, which are scores for 16 students from a math test. We want to use 4 classes in our frequency distribution. We're going to begin with a lower class limit of 60 and have a class width of 10. So first thing, we need to label our columns. So labeling our columns, we can just call the first one class, since we're going to build classes, or you can call it test scores. It doesn't really matter, but the second column is going to be called frequencies. Now, we want to start with a lower class limit of 60 on the first class. So, we have 4 classes. So, to get to the next lower class limit, we're going to add our class width that was 10. So, that's 70. And then we're going to add 10 again to get 80. And add 10 again to get 90. So we have our 4 lower class limits. Now we have to determine our upper class limits. The unit that is right below 70 is 69. So that's going to be our upper class limit for our first class. 60 to 69, 70 to 79, just following that pattern, 80 to 89, and then 90 to 99. So we've determined our 4 classes. Now we need to decide what our frequencies are. Let's look for values in our list of data that are between 60 and 69. So there's 66, and that is the only one between 60 and 69. So our frequency is 1. So I'm going to mark that one out. I've used it. Now let's go through and find all that are in the 70s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 data values that are between 70 and 79. So let's mark those out. We've used those. Now between 80 and 89, we have 85, 82, 82, and 85. That's 4 data values. And between 90 and 99, we have 2, 99 and 99. So 2 data values there. So we've built our first frequency distribution. Now we're going to use that same information on the next slide to build a relative frequency distribution. So again, let's label our class. And then we're going to do relative frequencies. So we are going to use 4 classes, beginning with a lower class limit of 60 and a class width of 10. Therefore, our class limits are going to be the same as the previous example. 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 99. Our relative frequencies, however, we need to know the frequencies, which from the previous slide were 1, 9, 4, and 2. Now, to find our relative frequencies, we're going to divide each one of those by the total number of data values. There were 16 data values, so we're going to divide each one by 16. Now, there are times where you will see relative frequencies listed as a fraction. That's seldom, but you may see that. Most of the time, it will be changed to a decimal, so let's change each one of these to a decimal. So that is 0.0625, just using our calculator to divide. 1 divided by 16. 9 divided by 16 is 0.5625. 4 divided by 16 is 0.25. And then 2 divided by 16 is 0.125. So if we wanted to list our relative frequencies as decimals, we would use those values. I'm not going to round here. I'm going to leave them as the decimals that we found. On your homework problems, they may tell you to round to a certain number of decimal places, so make sure you follow the directions in the homework for rounding. Another way they may want you to list the values is as a percentage. So, if we are to change each one of these to a percent, we would just move our decimal 2 places to the right, so that would be 6.25%, 56.25%, 25%, and 12.5%. And that is our relative frequency distribution. Again, just make sure you are paying attention on the homework as to which form they want the relative frequency in. Do they want it as a decimal or do they want it as a percent? And where do they want that value rounded to? Those directions will be in the homework. Now we're going to create our cumulative frequency distribution using the same set of data, the 16 students math test scores. We're going to have 4 classes. However, our classes this time are going to look a little different. So here are our classes and then our cumulative frequencies. To create the cumulative frequency distribution, we're going to look at the classes from the frequency distribution or the relative frequency distribution, and those classes were 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 99. Okay. We want to designate our first class as less than the lower limit of the second class. This is our lower limit of the second class from our previous tables. So, we are then going to say for our cumulative frequency, the first one is going to be less than 70. And we want all the values that are going to be less than 70. And then we go to the next one, and that's 80. So then we're going to say less than 80. Now, you may not want to write out less than every time. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can use the symbol less than 90 and less than. Following the pattern, the next one would be 100. Not less than 99, less than 100. Make sure if you're going to use the symbol that you have your inequality sign pointing in the right direction. So, now we need all the values that were less than 70. And again, our frequencies from our very first table that we did were 1, 9, 4, and 2. Remember, that was what our table looks like, our class and our frequency. So, the number of values that were less than 70 are all the values between 60 and 69. So 1. The values that are less than 80 are all the values that are in the 60-69 class and the 70-79 class. So 1 plus 9 is 10. Now, the values that are less than 90 will be all 3 classes, 1, 9, and 4 added together. That's 14. And then less than 100 will be all of them, 1, 9, 4, and 2. That should be 16 since we had 16 data values. Again, remember when you're building the classes for the cumulative frequency distribution, you can either write the words less than or use the less than symbol. If you forget which direction the less than symbol goes, then write out the words.